right, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Town Square. I'm James Azar. My awesome co-host Eddie is on vacation this week. So joining me instead of Eddie is the magnificent David Vaughn. David, what is happening, brother?
What is going on? I gotta say, first and foremost, since we like to call out elephants in the room, that shirt looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm a man of my word, and I am donning the Paisley because of the CISOTalk Paisley Shirt Challenge. Hey, Scott, he's coming in hot, and I got butter at Renee Small. Yeah, Renee is unbelievable. Thank you, Renee, so much. I am donning the Paisley. So in the comment section of today's show, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can see the link to continue to donate. We're now $500 away from milestone number 2, which means I don ugly shirts for 3 different shows. I will put a survey on LinkedIn, and you guys can vote for which shows I should wear to Paisley. Next week, if we hit the $2,500 mark, we're literally $500 away. Paul is loving this Wounded Warrior support in full effect. Indeed, the awesome folks over at Wounded Warrior. And Igor, looking good, man. Love the new style. Please don't get used to this. My black t-shirt is right there waiting for me.
I gotta say, though, since, I kind of started this, what's your price for some lace, friend? We can get you some lace.
I will not wear lace. I'm sorry.
Everybody has their price. Everybody.
That is very uncomfortable as of right now. Like, I'm just looking at this and I'm going like, oh man. But it's for a great cause. It's for the guys over at Wounded Warrior Project. And people are tuning in like, I like the shirt, James. Thank you. If Eddie was here right now, he'd be just dogging me all show long about the shirt. Because it's the shirt's pretty cool. Thank you to John De La Cruz, by the way. So this shirt is courtesy of John De La Cruz. And we
are going to get him in a Unit 42 shirt too, as well.
Well, we're going to get Eddie in a Unit 42 shirt if we get to the 5,000 mark, right? Yes. So we're nearly halfway to get Eddie in a Unit 42 shirt, which I am going to love every moment of it.
I am personally going to invite Nir to that show if that happens.
Oh, he would just bring that in, man. It would just be unbelievable. Lingerie request not far.
Yeah, see, I like how they think. I love it.
Yeah, indeed. So we are all in this today, folks. It's I hope you're ready for today's show. We're going to talk a lot about a bunch of stuff today. Specifically coming up today is going to be a little bit about cyber warfare. We're going to talk about this thing that broke this morning, the story about the FBI getting secret warrants to go in and remove web shells from companies as well. I find that to be almost very, I don't know. I find that to be like very intrusive.
Oh, we're going to have a good argument about that one.
I mean, I can't believe you're justifying it, David.
Absolutely. It's about time. So, but we'll dive into it.
All right. So, John De La Cruz is here, and he's hiding behind LinkedIn user since Shady Dave is on screen today. So he's happy to help. Thank you, John. I hope you're enjoying this and you're taking numerous screenshots. And tomorrow, this will make one of your infamous posts about how awesome it is. But please continue to promote this. Our goal is to raise $5,000 for the Wounded Warrior Project. We're at $2,000 for everyone who's donated. Thank you so much for everything. And this all got started with you, David Vaughn. So it's only appropriate. Your one comment on a show a few weeks ago has led to me now wearing a Paisley shirt.
All I said is I got $100 on it. And then somebody said, I got $100 too. And they were like, we could turn this into a charity thing, right? So, it's a community effort. It takes a village.
Yeah. So for those, the link for the fundraiser, if you haven't donated yet, is in the description section of the show. And FYI, all the funds, all 100% of the funds go to the Wounded Warrior Project. No one sees, there's no takes here, there's nothing. It goes, this is sanctioned by the Wounded Warrior Project. The Wounded Warrior Project is a huge supporter of it. And so this is unbelievable. Absolutely, I matched it quick. That's awesome. Thank you. There it is. It matches the wall in... I don't know how it does that.
It's almost like urban camo. Cowboy urban camo.
So Vladimir is here, and that shirt indicative of the security matrix we're all trying to navigate. Semper Fi, Vladimir. Semper Fi. So let's talk a little bit about this FBI thing, David, before we get into and putting kind of the cyber warfare and what we can respond with out. And we'll talk a little bit about Israel taking Iran's nuclear capabilities away.
Allegedly.
No, Israel's.
We're saying that out now.
That we're just like, yeah, we did it. We blew up their underground, most secure facility in the Iranian regime. So the comments on the shirt will keep rolling in. We'll get to those in a minute. But no one commits like James. Thank you, Vladimir. I hope so. Although everyone on the show is awesome today. So yes, and that is a very busy shirt. It is, Leah. It is absolutely a very, very busy shirt. And all right. So let's talk about this. So let's start with the FBI thing, man. Intrusive. Scott says the Anti-Patriotic Act giving unbelievable power. They were able to get a secret warrant, go into these servers, clean them out, but they didn't patch them. So they kind of did a half-assed job.
So what I understand is not that they just went out and thing. Right? They actually, from the command and control server, issued a command that uninstalled the malware off of all the victimized systems. So, really, if that's the case, right, because we don't really know what we don't know, but if what is described, I don't see an intrusion there, right? The C2 server has already been seized. That is now an asset of the government, and they can do what they see fit with it. It basically, it's a service provider exception at that point, right? So, if you're familiar with the service provider exception, it's one of my favorite exceptions, is that you could do whatever is necessary to protect the integrity of your environment, your network, right? And it can be argued with, lawyers can always argue anything, but it can be argued pretty sensibly that you're protecting the integrity of the environment by issuing that remove command. Now, why I say it's a little slippery, though, is if they had gone in and patched those systems as well, now you're modifying the environment past its intent, right? The intent was to remove the bad thing and be gone, right? But as soon as you start modifying the code by upgrading it or patching it, you might disrupt something or take something down that's operational. I mean, look at Apache struts, right? If you upgraded and fixed that, you broke everything else, right? So every time you try to upgrade it.
Yeah, I mean, that's you. So here's where I disagree with you: is it's not the federal government's job to remove vulnerabilities from private businesses. They really don't have that jurisdiction unless that business serves the federal government, at which point that's a completely different story. But that's not the case here. They went and they got a secret warrant, justifying it as being something of national security, although they didn't say. But then they justified it as being national security, but then they say these businesses either don't know how to do it or don't have the technical capabilities to do it, so we got to go and do it. So which one is it? It can't be one or the other.
I also, though, like the risk adverse decision to do it and then have precedence for it later, rather than waiting for precedence to make a decision off of. They'll be like, hey, we're going to go fix this thing. Many of the people don't know that they're victims, so we're going to fix this thing. and then if somebody wants to sue us, then we'll handle it later. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is though that listen, there's no one that supports the FBI more than yours truly. All right, so I just want to be clear with that. I just feel like this is an overreach, and it's a dangerous overreach, right? It has significant long-term implications from what the FBI can do going forward. So you can have a vulnerability in a massive corporate system, and the FBI can be like, well, we're going to go in now, and we're going to get this warrant, and you don't want to let us get a image of your server to investigate. We're going to go in and investigate it anyways.
I will tell you too, though, from a titling authority perspective, I've got to imagine that the FBI probably did not execute the operational aspect of what was done. They oversaw it from their titling authority, but from a Title 50 perspective, that would have been a partner agency pulling the trigger. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but typically operations of that nature, that size, would fall under a Title 50 authority. And at that point, your argument is null and void, because they have sanctioned that under an act of national security, and they're shutting you down all day. It's not an act of law enforcement at that point. It's an act of national security.
So this tells me one of two things, though. I read the warrant inside and out this morning before I talked about it on the practitioner brief. Okay, so I just want to be clear. I've read this in and out. And it starts off going like, this is a national security issue.
There you go. Title 50.
Okay, wonderful. Great. Then it continues to go, and the reason we don't want to let these organizations know that we're going to go do this is because, one, we don't want to tip off the bad guys, and number two, they may not have the capabilities to actually get this done. So are you telling me that the federal government is so incompetent that it's doing business with companies who don't know how to go in or hire a company to remove web shells independently?
I would say that that's almost an irresponsible comment in itself, because you know damn well that they're doing business with people that don't have the competency to secure their networks.
But what's CMMC and CMMI for?
Well, I mean, that's just now being enforced. I mean, we've been doing businesses with businesses that can't secure their own stuff for years. People rush to get things to market. They don't think about security. They don't put security first. They don't have a security first mindset. Those terminologies, those words that have meaning, those have only recently been embraced by our industry, not to mention everybody outside of our industry, right?
Indeed.
So, to say that, is the government doing business with people that can't secure their shit? Absolutely they are, because we want products to market. We want to be bleeding edge, leading edge, and sometimes security takes a backseat to convenience.
I just want to say that for anyone who digs big government, what David just said should scare you to death. Let's get to some comments.
Yeah.
So Scott says, once again, Anti-Patriot Act gives them immunity. FISA warrant analogy is the comment by Vladimir. The Patriot Act went to the Freedom Act in 2017 and gave the FBI more power. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. Paul puts in a great comment here, which is, this goes with what I mentioned a few weeks ago. Why not weaponize it for our use to find the additional command and controls at the same time? If they were issuing a warrant, it should be state-owned now.
So that's exactly what they did do. They did it from the C2 servers. So, and there's another precedent-setting case that occurred that we talked about pre-show. If anybody's curious, to go look up Playpen. That was another one that turned a lot of heads. And in that situation, the FBI had seized a known distribution points of child pornography and used it as a watering hole, basically. So the argument was, oh, this is entrapment. Well, it was defeated, and it was deemed that it wasn't entrapment. And the people that they busted were not the low-hanging fruit bad guys that don't know how to cover their tracks. These were guys with massive amounts of child pornography, and most of it was original, so which is even worse, right? So nothing matched the national database from that finding, and what do you say about that, right? Like I've got 2 daughters, so I'm okay with that.
So again, this is kind of like picking and choosing, and I'm going to go the liberty route. Okay. I am going to go down the liberty route here, which is, we either want them in every aspect, or we want them within the scope of what they're supposed to do and enforcing the laws that are in the book. I'm going to kind of agree with Scott on this one, which says this is a visible overreach. And it's not an uncommon one. And I'll tell you why. Because it's an overreach because Vladimir goes on to kind of do this. But if we're protected enough to opt out of business data collection, shouldn't we have the right for government collection outside of a search warrant?
This is why I disagree, though, right? If you want to say that the government should be in everything, they already are, right? If there is probable cause, they're already all up in everything, right? And in this case, there was clear probable cause. There was a clear and evident danger to the public, and most people did not know and still have not realized that they were victimized or could have been victimized, right? This wasn't something that, could have been or might have been used 6-7 months from now. This was something that could have been used within hours of being found by an adversarial threat, right? And the numbers were staggering of what came in. I mean, the 18 to 28,000 organizations were hit by this within the first 72 hours. So if you're looking for probable cause, there it is right there.
So there's a difference between probable cause to, let's say, for example, something else. I mean, this is kind of like, so here's where I'm at with this. I feel like this is, there's a way to justify it by saying, if you look at the web shell and let's say you treat it like a chemical spill, right? And it's a chemical spill that affects federal transportation areas. And so the federal government comes in to clean it up because they don't want the hindrance in the supply chain. Then you could argue that the web shells are kind of like that, and that gives them the authority to do it. But the other side of it is, once they do this once, what's to stop them from doing it again and again and again in the future? And at what point does that become where all of a sudden the FBI is in your network removing vulnerabilities and on the way, doing whatever they want to do?
I don't know. I still don't see a problem with that, only because I know the amount of effort that they have to put in to getting permission to do something like that. And it's not a straight-laced, hey, I've got the authority, I'm going to go do it.
Well, right? They went to court. They filed for a secret warrant. They got it. The judge gave it to them. Mm-hmm. This was done of all places in Houston, Texas. So this wasn't a Virginia kind of thing. And I think that's what really surprised me. I thought this was a DC thing.
No.
But it wasn't a DC thing. It was a Texas judge, which as a liberty lover was like, oh, Texas. But at the same time, I'm just like, all right. I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to get stuck on the entire show's not on the FBI thing today.
Yeah.
But it's a good segment. Let's kind of segue to something else. So Iran's got this nuclear facility that they built in the valley between a bunch of mountains to make sure that the Israelis or the Americans or the Europeans could never bomb it. It'd be very difficult to bomb. They built it underground, ton of cement there. It's like 4 or 5 foot of 5 feet of cement. Just, I think the Moab would probably destroy the place, but that's about it. That's about the only bomb that could destroy it. Now, just for the sake of clarity on this one, President Trump gave Israel the Moab. He gave him 5 mobs.
A Moab.
The Moabs. All right. I'm sorry. You're the one that's living
Mo.
your life. I'm a civilian. All right.
Oh,
So here's the deal. This facility was the facility that started the Stuxnet. This is where Stuxnet was originally deployed. They were victims of Stuxnet. From that, we all know the story, right? They invest so much to upgrade all the security. A bunch of people get executed because a bunch of them are suspected to being Israeli operatives. And I think that's the beauty of good intel, right? Make them kill their best people by thinking their best people are the traitors. And so they go about that. And now Israel launches a cyber attack, which according to the most recent report I just read, the explosives that triggered it all have been in the building for over 10 years.
That's good use of supplies on hand.
and now they blow it up. So let's talk a little bit about kind of, I don't want to say kind of, but what are your thoughts on Israel actually publicly coming out and actually claiming responsibility for it and not staying in the shadows?
I first of all, there's only one country on my list of countries that I wouldn't screw in, and Israel is on that list, right? I think there's so many things fundamentally right that they do as a nation state, requiring military service. They have to. They have a small area of land. They have a major threat. They have all these things worked against them, and all they want to do is live a peaceful, happy life, right? So they've had to ingrain that in them. But at the same note, right, they are not afraid to reach out and touch somebody if they have to, right? I think that, even if you just look at the IDF in general, what it stands for, the Israeli Defense Force. It's not the Israeli Offense Force, right? They're not out trying to start fights. They're trying to just cause enough damage to the adversary so they'll leave them alone, right? Or to make it so costly that, the enemy just says, you know what, I think we're going to go ahead and follow David Vaughn's lead and not screw with Israel, right? I applaud the effort, and I think it's great that they stood up and said, yeah, we did it. What? Right? I mean, that's amazing, right? It speaks volumes to their confidence in a military force, right?
Yeah, I mean, so partially to that, there's a little bit to it. I think the other part of it is Israel is kind of, I think, signaling to the EU and the US, which are, trying to kind of restructure the GCPOA, the Iranian nuclear deal, right now, as kind of a way to take away the leverage. So one of the very interesting commentaries I've read about this and why Israel kind of took responsibility for it. Initially, it was kind of leaked, and then it was confirmed. So Israel didn't come out and just openly say it. It was leaked that it was Israel. There were anonymous sources within the Israeli defense that said that this was them. And then kind of someone came out and said, yeah, we did it. And part of it had to do with the fact that I think Israel did a really good job of just understanding that they wanted to take away the leverage Iran had. And that's why the next day after this attack, Iran came out and said, we're going to enrich uranium at 3 times what we're enriching it at. And pretty much everyone I know of stature laughed and said they couldn't enrich at 20. And half of their best facilities been blown up to shreds. They're not going to be able to do that at 60. They're just saying that for leverage.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, I think that it was a good show of force, right, of capability, right? Because, everybody wonders what each nation state's capabilities are. But, I think this is now the second time that the IDF has demonstrated the ability to reach out and touch somebody in in a manner that is kinetic and demonstrates their capability, right? Without and without any collateral damage either, right? So, to my knowledge, no innocent people were hurt or killed.
Yeah, so we're getting some shirt comments here. Let's bring those in and lighten up the mood a little bit. The 60 calls, they want their shirt back. Hey, Jimmy, thank you. Yeah, they did call. I'll give him the shirt back, but you can keep me in the 60s. Or Spencer thinks, I thought it was on that 70s show. I think it may have been on that 70s show. The link to the fundraiser for the Wounded Warrior Project is in the description section of the show on LinkedIn. It's in the show notes on YouTube. And it's in the description of this episode right now. That for people that are watching on Facebook, go donate to this awesome cause. We're $500 away from me having to wear a shirt like this for 3 episodes. And Spencer says I should wear it with the brown corduroys. That might be an option.
I say that we reverse the fundraiser and say, we'll pay to keep you in it. That would be... How many days can you wear it consecutively?
I wear a black T-shirt consecutively every single day of, for the last, I think, like 5 years.
A little bit. You see, you're lucky though, because whoever sent that, I forgot the guy's name, but
John Cruz.
If it was fuchsia or with some light touches of Renee Green pink, then that would have been stellar.
It is. So where did my curtains go? According to Scott. Igor talks about the huge program in Israel and it's government driven and sponsored. Yeah, that is very true. They have an unbelievable cyber program. And David Moalim says, great cause. Yes, it is, David. It absolutely is a wonderful cause. So here's what I kind of want to shift our conversation about on the show today. And, we talk a little bit about Israel and we talk about Iran. But every show we talk a little bit about why can't we hack back? Why can't we shut them down? Why can't we do all these things? And we talked about a bunch of treaties last week. We highlighted some of that stuff, David. But now you're here. You don't have to type. You can just say it. You can give everyone as a CW4. You can kind of give everyone a little bit of an idea.
Way to dox me, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
I that's what I brought you on the show for. You started this.
Yeah,
there's payback. There's a saying in Hebrew. It says "tzve pgia." "Tzve pgia" means expect a strike.
I got to learn the comment that the guy said today on the news, though.
What did he say on the news today?
About if you ask a question like that again,
I'll break your neck. Benny Gantz. So Secretary Miles was in Israel, and they were doing a kind of a photo shoot in front of the F-35s, and one of the Israeli reporters asks the U.S. Defense Secretary, he goes, "Hey, Secretary Austin, what do you think of the nuclear strike on Iran?" And the Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz, the Deputy Prime Minister, looks at the reporter and says, "Ask him that question one more time, and I'll break your neck."
That's awesome. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before our press secretary starts doing stuff like that. I gotta be careful.
So let's talk a little. So let's talk a little bit about. Let's talk a little bit about that concept of strike back and cyber warfare, David.
Yeah. So first thing that we have to settle is the conversation about a war versus a conflict. Right. So, you guys made a comment last week about there's several conflicts going on. Right. And conflict has people getting killed or getting hurt or damages of properties. But generally, a conflict only involves two parties or ideologies of two different opposing persons or groups of persons or countries. A war, though, is all out, right? And it involves more than one country. And there is a law of war that is well established, is well maintained, and it is well adhered to. And what's challenging about cyber, right? Cyber in itself as a multi-domain operational capability has only really been in its existence across the entire DoD since 2017.
Right.
Right. So, there are exceptions to that, right? There are three-letter agencies. There are pockets within certain components of the Air Force and the Army and stuff like that were doing computer network attack actions. But the term cyber warfare, the operational domain of cyber warfare is relatively new, and a lot of this stemmed from a national security presidential directive that was put out by George Bush Jr. that established all that. So all of the things that we're seeing now, like 800-53, the establishment of CISA, the establishment of DHS and Cybercom and R-Cyber, all of those actions were agency responses to that directive, right? So it's really fascinating because, like, I saw all this come from nothing, and I've seen it evolve. And is it perfect? Absolutely not, right? But are we far more capable and prepared than we were in 2016? Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you firsthand, just from the Army side of the house, because that's what I have the most experience in, is the folks that were on active duty doing cyber things 5 years ago versus the folks that are on active duty doing cyber things now. I remember in events, it's called Cyber Flag. It's held every year. All the proponents send folks to this to get validated as cyber protection teams. And there was a female captain that was speaking on ICS, and I thought she was a reservist because this lady sounded like she was giving a doctorate level dissertation to a panel of people. So mind you, she's a company grade officer, right? So that's nerve wracking. And she's up there giving out, this is what the issue is. This is what our plan is. This is how we're going to fix this. Boom, 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 boom. And then the murder board opens up and they just start going at her. And she doesn't lose her composure. She's just giving out answers left and right. And it was absolutely amazing. I laughed a little bit because I was like, oh yeah, there's a reservist, right? Because that was the advantage that the Guard and Reserve had coming into this, is that a lot of us were already doing this in the civilian world, right? So it was a great advantage. But in the very beginning of all of this, active duty didn't really know how to leverage the Guard and Reserve for cyber for the Cyber National Mission Force, right, which is the CNMF. So it's been a lot of fun, and it is definitely a time suck, right? Anybody, regardless of what proponent you're going to join, all has to go through the same pipeline training. All the requirements are the same, whether you're a Marine, an Air Force person, regardless, they all have to go through the same training. And it's a major commitment to take on. So, I applaud anybody that does it or attempts to do it. It has made us very capable.
So, we look at some of the discussions we've had. We see the offensive cyber operations that other nations do, right? We see significant cyber operations from other nations. We're looking at nation states. The ODNI report that came out yesterday, I think, was it yesterday or this morning?
It was yesterday.
I think it was yesterday. So if you haven't seen the ODNI report, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence put out a report, and I felt like it highlighted some threats significantly, but then it ignored a bunch of other ones. Scott brings up a really cool kind of, something really interesting here. He goes, Crimea, China Sea, or Minneapolis, what's the most dangerous place to be?
I'd say Minneapolis right now.
I'd say Minneapolis right now, but I wouldn't put the South China Sea too far out of it. Myanmar, or Myanmar, of course. It's very interesting what the people in Myanmar did, because they shut down the internet there, and those people went underground on the dark web and built an entire ecosystem there for themselves to communicate.
Well, I'll tell you, though, so the ability to turn off the internet is something that is maintained by every state. And if you think that the U.S. does not have that same action play, They certainly do, right? There are scenarios that certainly would evoke that playbook item, either outbound traffic or traffic coming inbound, or let's just say the U.S. government being shut down so that nothing can come in. And there are various playbooks for that. And it's always funny because folks are like, oh, you can't shut off the internet. It's a inalienable right. Well, no, it's absolutely not. It is not.
It's not in the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. So, it's just kind of funny. But to the comment, though, about the China Sea versus Minneapolis, well, I know it's kind of a joke. It's a good example of a conflict versus a war, right? So there is a real conflict that's happening in Minneapolis. And some of those protests are actually very just, right? There is some serious things that need to be fixed within our own borders. But the South China Sea stuff, that is a war in the brewing, for sure. And I don't think that there is not a proponent right now that isn't thinking about that or forward planning for that situation.
So the Heritage Foundation has something very interesting, talking about how the South China Sea, when people think of the sea, they think of a very vast body of water. But if you actually look at the South China Sea on a Google map, you realize it's a very, very heavily trafficked area with a lot of different nations, with a lot of different navies. And the ability to spark a conflict there it's like a Kindle box. I mean, once you light one thing up, it's
not just maritime traffic, air traffic too, because mind you, they're not just saying don't come through our waters. They're also saying don't fly over our airspace, right? So it is only a matter of time before a commercial plane is shot down by accident and sparks, a reaction, because, that hasn't happened before, right?
Yeah. Well, so let's kind of look at this from another angle, though, right? So we talk about this whole idea of nation states and nation state actors. The ODNI report talked a lot about Russia, and very little about China. And I found that to be a little bit disturbing, right? They talk about Russia and Iran from a political perspective. They don't highlight the China influence. They talk a lot about China's almost not interested in American politics, although they very much are interested in American politics. And we've known that China's been funding different organizations through various industries. And I don't know if they didn't put it in there because this was a declassified report. So maybe they... And I don't, again, I'm trying to be very balanced here, right? I don't want to go with one opinion, but I definitely want to tell you where I'm torn. And Paul and Vlad and everyone else, Scott and Pat and David and everyone who's commenting and has been active on today's show, and Igor, you guys can all give me your 2 cents here. But here's where I am. They either didn't want to address China so much because of one of two reasons. They don't want China to know, maybe officially in a declassified report, that they know about everything. Right? Which could be one way. Or the administration's view on China right now is a little bit soft. And they see Russia as a greater threat. There seems to be a lot of talk from a lot of different talking heads about Russia being a greater threat to America than China. And I'm like, on what planet are you living? Because I feel like I'm living in a crazy world right now.
Yeah, seriously. So when we talk about Russia versus China, right, there are other threats that are of greater concern than those two, right? If you asked me to give my top 5, which I wouldn't do on an unclassed setting, but Russia and China, Russia's not in my top 5 at all, right? It's Russia has a lot more to lose, and I don't think that their motivations are different. Most of it is criminal organization, enterprise focused, right? So making money, right? Whereas everything that China does is all about advancing China, right? If anybody wants to watch a really good show, it's on Amazon Prime right now. It's China's New Silk Road, and it really does go into the belt and suspenders philosophy.
Belt and Road Initiative.
Belt and Road Initiative. Yeah, that's right. But the king of the long game is China, right? They have been a superpower 3 times in their existence. They're well within, some would even say that they are already a superpower now. Their navy is 4 times larger than it was 5 years ago. These are some serious things that all add up. It's kind of death by 1,000 cuts, right? Do they have enough beans and bullets to send over and invade the U.S.? Absolutely not. But if something came to blows and we had to go to them, that's not going to be as easy as the Gulf War was, right? Where we came in with shock and awe and just blew things up and made a mess. There's the density of civilians in their country would lead to a lot of collateral damage, and the U.S. and our allies don't just go in and carpet bomb things anymore. I mean, we stopped doing that a long, long time ago, and then created laws about it, right? And that's part of the whole law of war stuff. A lot of the things that the U.S. follows in law of war were things that we violated ourselves in World War II and the like.
Yeah, but when you're fighting an enemy who's not conventional warfare doesn't work, right?
Oh yeah, but that's easy to do when you have asymmetrical warfare, folks. Oh, that's right. We rolled them up and we shut that down. Darn. So it's when you have an asymmetrical warfare group, you can do asymmetrical warfare fairly easy. But shutting down asymmetric warfare probably was not the smartest thing that we've ever done.
So, question to the people who are watching us is if you were to look at the ODNI report, they talk a little bit about Iran and Iran trying to influence the election towards Biden because they knew that Biden's policy towards Iran was going to be better than that of Trump, and that's so far proven to be a good gamble on their end because not 3 months into this administration and they're already talking about removing sanctions on a country that hasn't even given up 1 iota of their nuclear program and hasn't stopped chanting death to America in that process, calling us the big devil. And then they call Israel the little devil. And so...
but we believe in freedom of speech, right? For everybody. So,
we believe in freedom of speech. Doesn't mean that they do. And again, you're fighting an unconventional enemy of sorts. So yeah. we kind of need to talk about that a little bit and address it. But I think the China threat to me is by far the most significant. And next week on the show, we're going to be talking about autonomous vehicles, right? And a very interesting aspect of autonomous vehicles is how much China is investing in autonomous vehicle technology and stealing right now in droves.
When did they ever stop doing that? That's kind of been their MO the whole time.
that has been their MO the whole time. But when you look at what that means from a technology perspective, it's significant. It's a significant threat to the U.S. because we look at our autonomous technology not only from a civilian perspective, right? But we also look at it from a military perspective, right? I mean, UAVs, drones have helped probably save a ton of American lives from dangerous missions because now we can fly a pilotless plane to go do the work rather than risk the life of an American soldier and pilot to go do that work. We've all seen it.
So, James, I actually just learned this a couple of days ago watching a show. When do you think the first instance of a drone in a time of war occurred within the U.S.? Like, from the U.S., like, when did the U.S. first use drones in a wartime environment? I'm going to blow your mind because I didn't know this.
I'm going to say Gulf War 92.
Nope, Korean War. Korean War. They were called dragonflies. So, and in fact, the systems that they used then, way back then, they retrofitted to use in the Gulf War. And allegedly, China had shot a couple of those down and stole the IP from those systems. And the U.S., like GDIT was the company that was making these. I just watched a really fascinating documentary on this, and they had the ability to make them self-destruct, right? So like if they lost communication with it, it would start a timer and it would blow itself up. And they decided not to do that because of the potential for collateral damage wherever that plane might have fallen. So the U.S. took a calculated risk that they might shoot this down and steal the plans or reverse engineer it, right? But we'd rather them do that than us kill innocent lives. And I thought that was pretty admirable.
So David says China's strategy is levels deep. Yeah, it absolutely is levels deep. It's very sophisticated. That they attack on all kinds of different aspects. Paul talks about it can open a huge can of worms for closed area network security issues. Patrick agrees with David's comment about China's strategy. And Renee is here. My brother from another mother, looks stunning in Paisley. Renee, you've put us over a little hump. Thank you for your donation, Renee, by the way. This is unbelievable. But yes, I am supporting the Paisley today. Paul loves what Renee has to say. And John, we have to think of our next challenge. I think I want to get David in lace. Maybe that'll be a good
so when is that, like any other abnormal time? I'm like,
so
you don't know me.
Phil. Hey Phil, good evening. How's it going, buddy? So Phil says that shirt. Yeah, it's part of the Wounded Warrior Project fundraiser we're doing here. I'm taking off my iconic black t-shirts. And for today's show, because we hit our first milestone of $1,000, we're currently at $2,000, $500 away from the third milestone, where I wear any Paisley shirt any of you sick people who support me wearing Paisley send me. Or
I'm looking to getting a coin made of that Paisley shirt. So.
You should make a coin. Take a. This podcast is going to last forever. This will haunt me till the day I die. So the link to donate to the Wounded Warrior Project is in the comment. It's in the description of the episode. You can go there and support the Wounded Warrior Project and everything we're doing there. This Paisley shirt is. Yep, it's. Is
the shirt a Find Waldo? Like is this Waldo somewhere on there? I've been looking.
All right, so the wife is showing up with a comment here. We're going to pull it up here in just a second. Zoot Suit Wednesday by Paul. Yes, and the comment of why I might end up sleeping on the couch tonight. This shirt is so ugly.
Hey, so that means she has your back.
Yeah, at least she's being honest, right? So ugly.
I don't think that has you sleeping on the couch. That's her being a supportive wife there. So
she's the best wife on the planet. Very, very supportive. And she's going to go down the idea of super ugly at this point. But yes, it is. But it's for a great cause. It's the Wounded Warrior Project. If you don't know what they do, every $150 that we donate is hours of treatment for soldiers suffering from PTSD. So just so you know, that's really, really significant for our troops. And we're going to have 2,500 of them coming home, 3,500 of them coming home by September 11th from Afghanistan. And those folks are going to be needing our help.
That's something definitely that we should reiterate a couple of times, because it's not just warfighters, it's cooks, it's IT people, it's folks that have been out of the job environment, the reservists, there's guardsmen, there's active duty, and there's going to be some major displacement coming back after being gone for so long. So
yeah. So more comments about the shirt. The shirt has taken the show over today. It's Eddie's shirt. Corinne says, never seen anything like this before. Renee says, yes, Paul, coming. Zoot suits. Next up, pinstripes. Wow.
I can get down
for
with
letting
zoot suits.
us make this happen by Paul to Corinne. And Corinne and Renee, yes, it's beyond ugly. Are you wearing this shirt for our veterans breaking into IT cybersecurity event next Friday? I think if we hit our next milestone by Friday, which is an additional $500, I'll post a survey on LinkedIn that people can vote for. I'll do it like a 3-day survey or something, so that by next Wednesday we'll know where I'm wearing the 3 other times I'm supposed to wear Paisley. And so I may let Corinne pick and Renee pick the next Paisley shirt too.
Yeah, I dare James McQuiggan to match me, and because payday is tomorrow, so we could certainly make that milestone possible.
Oh, James McQuiggan. Oh, James McQuiggan. We're going to have to take him up on this challenge. Please tag James McQuiggan. He's been awfully quiet on tonight's show. But
that's a great company he works for. Know Before. They're great.
Know Before are absolutely unbelievable. And Know Before Con, I believe, is next week.
Yes, I signed up for that, so I can't wait.
Yeah, it's an awesome production. So a few things here as we wrap up today's show. One, David, thank you for coming on to co-host.
Yeah, awesome.
In Eddie's absence, you haven't done the British accent, not even once.
Yeah. I'm afraid it would come off like an Australian. Then I'd have to say, well, it's the same thing, right? And then I get in trouble. So I'll just not go there.
Yeah, so I'll say this to Paul. Paul brought up a good idea. Or we can do a support campaign for a shirt next Friday. So here's the deal. If we get $500 and in the comment section people write the veterans breaking into IT in the comments, so they're donating as part of the veterans breaking into IT, I will wear a Paisley no matter what for that event.
Well,
so
I'll take $1 further than that.
That's the goal.
So I've got one even better. So I have a flag that was flown in Iraq. So we're allowed to fly a certain amount of flags. So if anybody donates $1,000 or more, I will personally send them that flag plus one of my coins and a certificate of authenticity showing that flag was flown in Iraq.
So Paul's got a hundo. John is matching. You've done the $1,000, which is really, really generous. I want to say that we had someone donate $500 yesterday completely anonymously.
That's awesome.
So I'm really grateful to whoever that Samaritan is. I'm beyond humbled. I woke up this morning and I saw that we were at $2,000, and I was just it's unbelievable. You guys are just the best. You guys are. Every single one of you is unbelievable in your generosity and we're having fun with this. And I'll get more ugly Paisley shirts. I may put a few on LinkedIn tomorrow and have you guys pick the next few as we hit these milestones. So you guys get a little bit of say on the next few shirts we get on. I know that the folks at Wounded Warrior and Under Armour are working on something really cool. So we'll see what they pull together.
So we'll have to see if they can make more than one. So in the military, in our dress uniforms, when we go to balls, like military balls,
right?
It's all business in the front, right? So you have your white cummerbund, it's like a tuxedo jacket, looks straight, very normal. But then after the official party leaves, you can take your jacket off, and everybody has what they call party shirts. So the back of the shirt and the sleeves are anything goes. And I will totally make a party shirt out of one of those Under Armour shirts.
Yeah, we'll definitely check out the folks over there. This is awesome. So I want to wrap up today's show. It's not a onesie. All right, here's the deal.
Somebody asked if it was a onesie.
So it's not a onesie. I know.
Sounds like the next fundraiser. A onesie is the next one.
A onesie would be a next one. That would be pretty cool. Model a few shirts tomorrow on CISO Thursday. So yeah. So a few things programming wise. Tomorrow 9 a.m. I'll be doing the practitioner brief. I have John from Wistic joining me tomorrow to wrap up this week, so you don't want to miss it. At 1 p.m., I'll be live with my sister from another, Mr. Renee Small for CISO Thursdays. We'll be on with Naomi Buckwalter and Chris Full-On. You don't want to miss it. You definitely don't want to miss it. And Andrew's here, folks. Dude, that's top secret information. You're not allowed to tell them about your party.
No, that's awesome, man. I actually don't have a party shirt. I'm going to get one made.
We should get a bunch of party shirts. I am going to probably try to do something that's more around the idea of swag that gets donated to the Wounded Warrior as a continuous project. Going forward as part of what we do as a community. I think there's power in our community as cybersecurity professionals, and this is an awesome cause, the Wounded Warrior Project, and it does such great work. And so with that, but next week, so here's the thing, this is the Tech Town Square, and we often talk cyber, but next week, we're really going to be talking about autonomous vehicles. And we're going to have a great show talking about autonomous vehicles. Eddie will be back next week. So it's going to be absolutely amazing. David, you want to give us like one final sound off? You want to try and sound off like Eddie before we end today's show?
He is just a man of such greatness that just can't be impersonated. So I won't even try to do it any injustice. Eddie, we miss you, and looking forward to seeing you in that Unit 42 shirts. And in fact, I've got it over here on the side. But I will also say, get me a shirt from your company and I will rock it, even though you know my opinion about that company. So I will rock that shirt. But,
so Renee would like to see Shady Dave and James in matching Paisley uniforms. I
love it. And the funny thing is, I don't know what it is with James. Like, I maybe he thinks I dislike him, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for James. He's a phenomenal person and outstanding professional. So, it's all in good fun. All in good fun.
Power banter, humbleness. We have it all in cyber. We absolutely do, Paul. We absolutely do. So here's the deal. Next week, we'll be back here 8 p.m. Again, as usual, we're going to be talking about autonomous vehicles next week in a really kind of in a bunch of different ways, from the technology to safety to regulation. There's a lot of stuff. This comment by Paul got me. My mom has an old 70s couch we can make matching suits from. Renee Small.
Heck yeah. I'll wear an old couch.
I would
walk around and say this is where the magic happens.
That is where the magic happens. We'd need to UV it and dry clean the heck out of it before that. But
there's no magic happening here. It's COVID lockdown. So
it is. Well, I don't know. Georgia's open, man. Everything's open in Georgia.
Yeah.
What's a COVID lockdown? I don't know. I don't know what a COVID lockdown is.
I just got shot one, so one more to go. We're good.
Yep, one more to go. All right, so folks, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much. You can still donate to the Wounded Warrior CISOTalk Paisley Shirt Challenge. You see me wearing this. I can't wait to take it off here in the next few minutes.
I did like the comment that you missed, that somebody said, what is this David guy's background anyway? It's like,
where?
It was in the beginning. I just kind of laughed about it. I'm like, hey, that's cool. I'll send them a let me Google that for you link.
I didn't see it though.
It was in the beginning. Well,
I think what is in David's background? Oh, what is in your background?
In my background, I thought they were asking what is my background.
No.
Well, so there's a bunch of stuff. We've got all my lanyards from events that I've either spoke at or gooned at or been part of the staff. My studio, I've got a bunch of patches, but my favorite thing that I get to look at every day, and I showed you in the pre-show, is the license plate on my wall that I got when I got busted for the second time as a junior enlisted soldier for running my mouth to the wrong people. I got a license plate that said UCMJ got me. So, because our law system in the military is called Uniform Code of Military Justice, and that did not go over well. So, yeah, UCMJ got me. That is a plate that I will keep for me all the time, and it's just to remind me, when to shut up.
So, folks, that's it for our show today. You guys are the best and most awesome people on planet Earth. I love the passion behind raising money for Wounded Warrior and seeing me in the ugliest things. I promised someone I would show a little bit of taco meat on today's shirt, so here you go.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
There's a little taco meat for everyone. Someone texted me right now and was like, "Where's the taco meat? Where's the taco meat? You promised me taco meat." So you got taco meat. Now you can go and throw on some hot sauce and enjoy.
Or burn my eyes. One of the
burn your eyes, indeed. Tomorrow I'll be donating my iconic black T-shirt. Iconic black T-shirt. Sandra will send us off with thank you for helping raise funds for the Wounded Warriors. Thank you for your service too. We serve because we love to serve. We don't serve for the thank yous, but we appreciate it.
Serving is my honor.
Indeed. I always like to say when people say thank you for your service, I say it's my pleasure, because I learned it from Chick-fil-A.
I always say it's serving is my honor, because really it is. So
Renee finds my taco hair, my taco meat disgusting.
Right there with you, Renee.
Listen, I think if you have not enjoyed a good Austin Powers movie lately, I can definitely reenact some of those scenes for you. I was hoping there were integrated hacking hardwares. David is a musician, folks, and this guy just loves music. So,
I actually just got selected to DJ CanSec West, so I'll be stoked about that. For those that have been around InfoSec for a while, may remember DJ Rants. He was the guy that always DJ'd with a chicken head on at DEF CON and B-Sides and all those places. Well, when he died of pancreatic cancer a few years ago, I bought all of his music and all of his gear and became really good friends with his father. And so I'm going to play one of his sets at CanSec West this year. So it's been
awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
we'll all be there as well to support that. Folks, thank you so much for everything. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the end of the show for us today. Again, a lot more next week. Tune in tomorrow to CISO Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern with Renee, Small, Chris, and the awesome Naomi Buckwalter. I'll be live with the practitioner brief at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. You don't want to miss it with my buddy John from Wistic. We're going to have a great conversation. And then if you missed CISO Talk, go subscribe now on CISO Talk Podcast. They had Sam Phillips, the Senior Vice President and Head of Enterprise Security Architecture over at Wells Fargo on the show. You don't want to miss that episode. I'm guarantee you it's good. And next week I'll have Ron Green, the CISO over at MasterCard. And Ron is absolutely brilliant. So you don't want to miss that one either. So if you haven't subscribed to CISO Talk, go do that now. If you haven't subscribed to CyberHub Podcast, go do that now. If you're not following us on YouTube, go subscribe, turn on the notifications. And until next week when I'll be back with Eddie, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay healthy. Stay cyber safe. Folks, thank you.